right at the very start, Hippocrates, all disease begins in the gut. So I think this is like, a long while ago now, 2,500 years ago that Hippocrates was saying this stuff, and we're only really beginning to understand this now and really trying to implement it into our clients' lifestyles. So moving on from there, I guess I had to do that. That worked. Yes. So can you see that? I can't see the title at the top. I need to kind of try and move that. I've got a bar in the way that's, oh, there we go. Now, can you all see the title at the top? Okay, it says agenda. Okay, so this is what we're going to be talking about today. I'm going to talk about what do we mean by gut health and the gut biome. Talk about how this has become damaged with our modern day lifestyle, and how that damage has then affected ourselves and affected ourselves as human beings, and how it has kind of caused a lot of the modern day conditions and diseases that we see manifesting amongst our populations. We're then going to talk a bit about how we can improve the health of our gut. And there are many ways to do this. It's not just about nutrition. There are actually many ways that we can improve the health of the gut. But then I'm going to focus mainly on nutrition. I'm going to give you 13 nutrition tips for you to take away with you. And I do think even if you just take one of those tips and either implement that into your lifestyle or introduce it into your client's lifestyle, it will make a difference. So just one of these tips will make a change. No, it's not wanting to move with my mouse. Okay, the gut. So what is the gut for a start? Well, the gut stretches from mouth to anus. Not very, only about a meter really in length, we might think, but if you spread it out flat, it would be the size of a badminton court. So it's this massive surface area that's all squeezed inside of our body. And if we think of our skin on the outside is kind of protecting us from the outside world, what's getting into our body, then the gut's like the skin on the inside that's protecting us from what's coming in from the outside world into our body. And in some places, this gut lining is only one cell thick. So it's incredibly delicate and it gets very easily damaged. What is the gut microbiome? Well, it's a collection of microbes, really, from bacteria to fungi to viruses to parasites, and they all live over our body, but they also live inside our body. This whole idea of trying to live in a sterile environment with antibacterial wipes and what we try and clean our house with is actually damaging these microbes that we're supposed to really be living in a symbiotic relationship with. So it's important that we're aware that we have these microbes all over our body and inside our body. And our job really is to protect these as much as we can. There actually are around 90 trillion of these microbes, but we only have 10 trillion human cells, which seems a bit strange, which means actually by cell count, we're actually only 10% human. And there's a very good book written by Alana Cohen called 10% Human, which explains this statistic. So we are 90% microbes. And these microbes have huge power and they very much influence the health of our body mentally and physically. So when do we first meet them? So it all depends really on how we're born. When we're actually in the womb, they kind of think that we're pretty sterile in there. There's not really a huge amount of microbes going on. But as soon as we're born, that's when we first meet our microbes. And it depends very much on how we're born. So if we're born vaginally, we will get the microbiome straight from our mother. Whereas if we're born by C-section, then we pick up initially these microbes from the hands of the nurses and the doctors that handled us at the start. And there is this train of thought now that people that are having C-sections, they're actually taking swabs from the mother's vagina and wiping it over the baby to try and give the baby the mother's natural microbiome instead of having the microbiome of the doctor or the nurses that handle them. What's amazing is this microbiome that's handed to the baby has come from our mother, but her microbiome has come from her mother and from her mother's mother and her mother's mother. So these generations of microbes go all the way back through our ancestors. So a lot of research has been done in genetics, and obviously our genetics are passed down through our generations, but it's also fascinating is our microbes are also passed down through our generation. And when we think that our microbes are 90% of us and our cells are only, human cells are only 10%, I actually feel that our microbiome has much more of an impact on our health than our genetics do. And you can see here, I've written in the slide, that in just 7 hours, one bacterium can make over 2 million bacteria. So that's how quickly they start reproducing as soon as a baby is born. The other impact we have from when we're born is whether we're breastfed or bottle fed, because the natural microbes from the mother will come through the breast milk and will come then into the baby and will start lining the gut of the baby as well. So it has a big impact on our health later in life as to how much breast milk we've had versus bottle milk. And it will definitely change the way that our body responds depending on whether we are breast or bottle fed. And these microbes, when they start colonizing inside our gut, their number one job is to teach the immune system what is friend and what is foe. So you will find that a newborn baby has obviously a very immature immune system, and it needs to learn. It needs to learn what it needs to do. And it's the microbes in our gut that teach the immune system, that teach the baby's immune system how to respond, whether they should accept something or whether they should reject something. Just shows the power of it right from the very start of birth. Now, the immune system, as we know, the gut is incredibly large, the size of a badminton court, and it houses three very important systems. Number one, the immune system. Number two, the nervous system. And three, the endocrine system. So our immune system, 80 to 85% of our immune cells are located in the gut wall. And kind of makes sense when you think about it, because if it's this massive surface area that's inside of our body, we want to be able to protect from inside our body what's actually going to enter it. So hence we have this huge immune system that lines the gut, and it's what protects us from what's coming into our bodies and entering then our body. And it's these immune cells that are trained by the microbiome as soon as the baby is born. It starts to get trained. So we can see just from the immune system that if the gut is slightly unhealthy, then we'll find that there's an immune response in the body. And the immune system can then react and start sending off inflammatory molecules, which can travel into the bloodstream and travel all around the body. So a healthy gut is really important to having a healthy immune system. And if the gut is unhealthy, then the immune system will be unhealthy as well. And the immune system is probably one of our most precious things for us to protect. And hence, by protecting our gut, we can protect the immune system. The other large system that it houses is the enteric nervous system, so the gut nervous system. And there are as many nerves in the gut wall as there are in the brain and the central nervous system itself. So it's a huge, huge nervous system, and it makes the majority of our neurotransmitters. So you're all probably aware of the neurotransmitter serotonin, and I just use this as an example, but there are many others. But everyone tends to have heard of serotonin, and 90% of our serotonin is made in the gut wall. So if the gut is unhealthy, then we can see how there's going to be a lack of production of serotonin, and hence that's going to have a big effect on our mental health. Now, the gut communicates quickly with the brain via the gut-brain axis and the vagus nerve, the wandering nerve. And this communication between the gut and the brain is incredibly powerful. And the gut-brain axis, which has only really been talked about in the last 10, 15 years, is getting more and more research now as to how our mental health is impacted by the health of our gut. And I find this a lot with my clients, that if they come to me with anxiety issues or depression or even bipolar, that if you heal their gut, you find that their mental health system, their symptoms start to reduce and they start to feel so much better. So that the gut has a massive impact on the health of our brain. And the other system that it houses is our endocrine system. So our endocrine system houses all our endocrine glands, which makes our hormones. But the gut is the largest endocrine organ in the body, so it makes the majority of our hormones. So again, you can see that if the gut is unhealthy, then the production of our hormones and the balance and the symphony of our hormones, together with our neurotransmitters, which are chemical messengers which make us feel at peace with the world, if they are interrupted, then obviously we aren't going to be functioning optimally at all. So the health of the gut is so important for these three systems. And if we have a poor microbiome status, which means that we have some sort of pathogenic microbes that are growing slightly out of control, that aren't being controlled by the good microbes in the system, then we tend to create something which is called gut dysbiosis. And you may have heard of the term leaky gut or intestinal permeability. And what happens here is if the gut is slightly toxic, then we find that the gut wall, this very, very delicate one-cell thick gut wall, can break down. And these tight junctions between the cells tend to break down. And it just allows undigested foodstuffs or partially digested foodstuffs to leak into the body and to get into the bloodstream. And this will then create an immune response because the body knows they shouldn't be there, and hence we get inflammation that travels around the body. This is also where allergies probably develop from, is that say if you have a partially digested foodstuff such as lactose, which you'll find in milk, or gluten, which is in wheat, if it's only partially digested and hasn't been broken down properly because the gut is unhealthy, the gut wall has broken down, these partially digested foodstuffs travel into the bloodstream. And what happens is the immune system tags them as not a friend, but as a foe, and hence attacks them. And hence why we start to develop allergies for foods. So I think that the reason why allergies are on the increase is because our guts are getting more and more unhealthy as a result of the modern world that we live in. And that's resulting in an increase in allergies within human beings. But the whole thing that's really important to focus on here is inflammation. And inflammation and the causes of inflammation and how that then travels around the body, I think that's the cause of the majority of these issues that we're suffering with today, from our autoimmune conditions all the way through to heart disease and cancers and everything else, really. So trying to get the gut healthy, to not allow for gut dysbiosis to occur and bring inflammation down in the body, has a massive impact on all systems in the body, including the brain.